Hello and welcome. Today we will learn about SQL injection and how to prevent it. You will see a real-life example of a SQL injection attack being performed, and we will also fix a security hole so that it cannot be done again. So firstly, what is a SQL injection attack? SQL injection is a dangerous attack performed on databases that is made possible due to unsanitized input to an application. When you perform a SQL injection attack, you gain access to applications unauthorized, and in a worst case scenario, you can even extract the entire database tables, gaining access to user tables and confidential information. I'm now going to perform a SQL injection attack live and explain what I did and how to prevent it. Okay then, so I've created a simple application that's vulnerable, and all it does is you log in and it says your name, and the username's admin and the password's admin. Welcome admin. If you get it wrong, invalid username or password. Very simple. It takes the username password from a database, okay, with a table called users. So we're going to exploit this, and I'm going to show you how to do it, right? Now if we look in the script, it's very simple PHP. So it's easy for you guys to understand. So we have our SQL query here. So we say select everything from users where username equals username and password equals password. Okay, now we're not sanitizing the input in any way, we're just passing it straight in, and this is why it's so dangerous. If you put a quote here, look at this, the query failed. Why did it fail? Okay, let's try something else. Welcome admin, but we didn't log in as admin. So because these fields weren't sanitized, we actually changed the query. Now what I'm going to do to show you how this works, I'm gonna echo the query out that the application sees, okay? So we're going to do admin once more, right? So that has the query, select everything from users where username equals admin and password equals admin. Okay, so let's try a single quote, and this is why we have an error with our query, because the query is invalid. We've put a quote, and that's actually changed our query because we're not sanitizing the input. So now let's do all 1 equals 1. Or 1 equals 1 and try login. Select everything from users where username equals nothing or 1 equals 1 and password equals nothing or 1 equals 1. So now the username doesn't equal nothing and the password doesn't equal nothing, but 1 will always equal 1 and 1 will always equal 1. So what it does, it bypasses because we change our query, it bypasses what was intended, and obviously we fetch the first row from the database. So in this case it'll bring back the first row, and in our case, because there's only one user in the database, it's admin. So now let me show you what else you can do with SQL injection, right? I'm going to add an age column to the database schema, and it's just going to be an integer. And we're gonna set admin's age to 20, and I've also created a test user, so we're gonna set that to 30. Now if we go back to the app, we go or 1 equals 1, and you notice how we're not finishing these quotes. That's because our script puts in a final quote, right? Okay. So then down here, then we're going to go or 1 equals 1 and age above 30. I'm going to log in. Invalid username and password. I'll ask because the age is 30, not we're asking if it's above. So we're going to change it to above or equal. Oh yeah, one more thing. Because it puts that final quote, did you see that? Because it put that final quote as a syntax error. So what you need to do, put a quote there and there, welcome test. So what we've basically done, we've said to the system, log us into the account, the first account you see, with the age over 30. And if we change that to 20, it logs us into admin because admin's 20, right? So we can literally re-engineer the application through this attack for our own use. Obviously, this doesn't affect other users. It only affects us because we're the ones doing the queries. We're the ones modifying the query through use of SQL injection attack. But we can affect the data. We can change other users. There's a lot you can do with this attack depending on the circumstance and how much control you have based on how little sanitization was being done. So that's SQL injection, very dangerous attack. You can extract entire tables in the database in some cases. So I'm going to show you how to patch this now. Okay, let's work on patching this. So how you sanitize input for SQL is you need to sanitize these characters. So null, new line, carriage return, backslash, quote, and so on. And how you do that is you just escape it by putting a backslash before your actual input. So for example, let's say the query is select everything from users where username equals username, yeah? And then let's just say username equals hello, yeah? So if username equals hello, what you have is this becomes hello. So if the username equals hello, that's correct. Now the problem is when you pass in that, then it becomes a problem, right? So how you do it is you backslash your input. So if I went like this, for example, that, you see what I've done there? This slash here and that basically tells SQL to ignore it. So how it sees it is it goes like this, right? So then what this says is, to SQL, it says select everything from users where the username is a quote. But without this, the SQL engine interprets it as 3 quotes. If you do this slash here, then it is completely accepted because you're saying to the SQL engine, get me all the users where the username is a quote. So that's how you sanitize the input. There is functions in the PHP programming language to sanitize input. MySQLi escape string, as an example, we will use this one. But before I go any further, the way I'm doing this is very newbie friendly, right? Very rookie friendly. The way you should be doing this really is with prepared statements. So I'll let you guys read about that. Essentially, the query becomes select everything from users where username equals question mark. And then you fill in the question mark later and it automatically gets sanitized, right? But read about that as this is the hacking course. I'm showing you how these things work. So MySQLi escape string connection username. And then here we go, MySQLi escape string connection password. And now that should, let's log in as admin first, works fine. And now let's put in our attack like before. Oh, it didn't work this time. Why didn't it work? Because MySQLi escape string sanitizes these characters in the query, in the parameter we're passing. So what we're saying is escape the username. Basically take the username we give it and any of these characters here, make them safe by applying this slash. That's what we're saying, because then the SQL engine interprets it as select everything from users where username equals quote or quote one quote. It basically sees it as complete quotes rather than part of the query. Because we use the slash, it interprets it as a character to be a part of the parameter in question, not a part of the actual query. It escapes it. And that is how you sanitize input for SQL injection. Using prepared statements, this will happen automatically for you. But SQL injection is very dangerous, and this is how you secure against it, by sanitizing your input. Rule number 1: never trust the client. Everything should be sanitized on the web server, or you run into problems like this. So that's lesson 1. Thanks, guys.